So today we will begin again and again and again, as we have been doing with the practice. And it can be so helpful in the practice to remind ourselves that we don't know what will be arising in the next moment. And this is especially useful if you've done a lot of practice and have an idea of what usually, quote unquote, happens. And also with this Mudita practice, it's structured a lot like metta practice, but it feels very different. It approaches relationship, it approaches experience from a different angle. And so we feel it in a different way than we do the openings that we have with the metta practice. So while the sequence of the categories feels vaguely familiar, what might be unfolding will be different. So with that as a prologue, I want to begin the practice today. And of course, we move on to the next category, the neither loved nor hated person, the stranger. Not knowing anything about this person can make the practice slightly more challenging. And it's only challenging if we have an idea we have to know what kind of success that person has or what kind of joy they experience. And we have to, feel glad about that. That's where the struggle comes. But as you know, mudita is an immeasurable state. It doesn't care anything about that. Whatever good fortune, whatever success that person might have is all that we incline to. We don't have to know what it is. All it requires is that we recognize that they have, as we do, sources of gladness, successes in their life. And then the mudita is simply the well-wishing directed towards that. So as a reminder, you don't have to feel the good fortune of somebody. And you don't have to rejoice for that good fortune. But we do need to connect with the very fact that it's there at all, and to use that as the foundation for our well-wishing. So an easy person in this category is somebody you can see or visualize, or somebody who is familiar but whom you do not know. You might choose somebody here on the retreat that you don't know, because we're all here together and we have the good fortune of being here. So you at least know that person has that good fortune. Or maybe it's somebody you see on a daily basis where you live. And so the successes of these persons, it can actually be inferential. You don't have to directly know them. So for example, perhaps you radiate metta for somebody who works in a shop where you go frequently. And they're cheerful, perhaps, and have a lot of energy. So you not really knowing anything about them, but one, they have a job, and two, they have energy, they have health. And both of these things are very good fortune. Or maybe you see somebody on your street and she's pushing like a baby, a little stroller with a baby in it. And you can rejoice in that good fortune. I find it very easy to relate to the good fortune of people who are walking dogs. That's another thing that's very easy to relate to. It can be anything, and it can be something quite small. So the main thing is to be able to connect with this person. And to have, you can either use your mudita phrase that you've been using, or to have a very general phrase that can cover many possibilities. So we'll sit in silence together, beginning with what is easiest for you in the Mudita practice for about 5 minutes. And then in your own time, moving on to this familiar stranger, this neither loved nor hated person. Please don't feel rushed by this. You can stay as long as you want where it's easy before you change to the new category. And so, as usual, I'll chant a little bit to bring us out of the sitting, but we'll sit in silence together. Amya, 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 Yudo Mucha Bakunlo, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Amya, 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 Yudo Mucha Bakunlo, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Amya, 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 Yudo Mucha Pakono, Sadhu, 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 Deya. Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu means well spoken, spoken, well spoken. And it, as you know, or may know, probably know, it means basically an acknowledgement of a wholesome deed well done. So thank you for your practice. However it goes, it's well done. So who has a question today? Yes, please. First Martin and then Iris. And then
Galaxy.
Donatella, I would ask you for translation if possible.
Yes.
Thank you for the instructions, because it's been a positive experience, uplifting experience of returning to Mudita. One challenge that I have found with this new radiating Mudita for this new person, this familiar stranger, is that I have felt some kind of indifference or even boredom at some point.
okay.
And the sign of this has been that while I have been feeling benevolence and good feelings in Mudita, I have found myself distracted more times than normally, because this person maybe wasn't as well as known or as close, or didn't attract my attention that much. So I guess that the answer is what you said in the other cases: just continue. And that's what I've done. I've tried to concentrate and continue, and maybe gradually that works. But I wanted to ask for your advice, the approach to this.
You've put your finger on exactly the challenge. Yeah. So this category asks that we go from beings for whom we have at least a knowledge or an understanding of their good fortune, to beings who, well, we just don't know. We don't know what their good fortune is. So actually, it is a transition from a mudita that is dependent on that knowledge to a more immeasurable mudita that it just doesn't matter. So your experience is completely normal and understandable and to be expected. And what to do with that? Well, yes, you just described exactly, just keep going. And there can be some helpful, like, crutches that we can use to keep ourselves going more easily. One is to really bring a little bit of energy to the connection with that person, however tenuous it might feel. Remembering common humanity and seeing if we can connect with some small thing that we can know about that person in terms of their good fortune. So that helps quite a bit, to have just a little hook to hang the practice from. Just be careful not to spend too much energy looking for such things or imagining such things. Just something that's obvious. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the advice, Sister Verenani. And thank you for translation, Donatella.
Yeah, thank you. So Iris.
So thank you. Hello.
I have a question, and what popped up in my mind is, why don't we use ourselves as a category in the Mudita sequence?
It's a good question.
In the chant, it is as to all, as and to all, as to myself.
Mhm. That specifically is about metta. And by extension to the other Brahma Viharas. So remembering that if, in the more formal concentration-based sequence of these practices, what the texts say is that we start always with metta. And then once we've developed the jhanas with metta, then we go on to compassion, to gladness, to equanimity. So it presupposes that we've already radiated metta for ourselves. And that's actually not a formal category, but it's just the foundation for the rest. So that metta for ourselves is the foundation of all the other Brahma Viharas. That said, in this more open form, gratitude for our good fortune is actually one of the ways that we can develop this category for ourselves. So really connecting with the many, many small things that we can be grateful for every day. In itself, a mudita practice. Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much, and also to Donatella, thank you.
Okay. So I actually don't know who I'm talking to other than Galaxy.
During this morning practice, just now, while wishing goodwill, may your good fortune continue and expand towards this unknown, not well-known person. Eventually, the sentence changed by itself, and it became, may the joy continue and expand. And it was as if it was embracing also myself. It was comprehending, enveloping all. But then when I realized that this was happening, I willfully, so to speak, I switched to the first sentence, may you. Is it, did I do the right thing? Is it better to go back to the sentence towards the other person, or is it okay to stay also with this feeling of togetherness in the mudita experience?
What happened when you tried to go back to the other sentence?
The joy I felt became less, diminished.
And could you maintain that connection with the mudita?
Yeah, I think so. I felt like this ache in the heart, which I think occurs when I'm in mudita.
The main thing is to maintain the connection with that and not to get carried away with that, kind of expansive happiness that can become the near enemy of mudita. And at the same time, what's really important in those decisions of, okay, this sentence changed spontaneously, should I change it back or not? What's important in that decision is whatever the intention is underneath it and the energy of that changing. So for example, here, I'm not saying this has happened to you, but for example, if something changes in the practice and it's going on and it's going okay, but we have this anxiety, it's like, oh, I must be doing it wrong. I have to get it back to the way it was. That is dosa, and we don't want to feed that. And so if we return to the phrase we were using before with that Anxiety and that desire to control the practice, that's not skillful or useful. And the very same thing can also be very skillful if the intention underneath it is just, oh, things are getting a little too, I'm getting a little caught in this. So maybe I should return to the phrase I was using before, and there's not that energy of anxiety or control. So whether it's the right thing to do or not very much depends on your own inner experience. What's pushing that action? What's underlying that action? What's the intention there? And that's nothing anyone can see from the outside. You have to see for yourself. And putting myself in your shoes, I can imagine doing either staying with what has already happened or going back to the original phrase. It very much depends. Yeah. Grazie. So we're pretty much out of time for chanting. I'll chant something very short and sweet. The Metta Karuna Mudita Upekkha. This is something you can either chant along as a canon, or you can freely harmonize. My voice is quite low, so if you have a higher voice, you can harmonize above me. Metta Karuna Mudita Upekkha. 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 Thank you for your practice, everybody. I'll see a few of you very soon in 5 minutes. Please stay so Federica can put us into the breakout room.